Hello friends, let us continue the lesson Kabuliwallah by Rabindranath Tagore. When the daughter of Rabindranath Tagore, Mini, who was 5 years old and who had the habit of chattering, she never stopped chattering and she was never silent. She used to talk much, and when she went to the room of her father, Tagore, he was uh, busy in writing his new novel, and he was in the middle of the 17th chapter, and whose hero, uh, what is the name of him? Pratap, Pratap Singh, and his heroine Kanchan Lata. So the hero caught his heroine, and he was to jump from the third story of a castle. At that time, Minnie came and she talked to her father, and suddenly she heard the voice of Kabuliwallah, and she called him from the window. And when Kabuliwallah came, she feared and went to her mother. Minnie feared and went to her mother. When Kabuliwala came at the door, Rabindranath Tagore had to buy some items, food items, dry foods, or etc., from him, and he Kabuliwala welcomed with smile. Then what happened? So precarious was the position of my hero and my heroine. So Rabindranath Tagore stopped his work of novel writing and he came out as he was about to leave after buying some uh, food items and talking with that Kabuliwala. As he was about to leave, Kabuliwala was about to leave. Then he asked, and where is the little girl, sir? When he was going, Kabuliwala was going, he asked Tagore, where is the little girl, sir? ती लहान मुलगी कुठे आहे? हू कॉल्ड हिम, जिने त्याला बोलवलं होतं टू बाय सम ड्राय फ्रुट्स. And then thinking that Minnie must get rid of her false fear. When Kabuliwala asked about Minnie, that little girl, Tagore thought that Minnie was Minnie had some fear, false fear. So to destroy her fear from her mind, he called Minnie out of the house. So when Minnie came, she stood by my chair. She stood by my chair and looked at the Kabuliwala and his bag. When Minnie saw Kabuliwala in front of her, she had the wrong notion, she had a wrong belief that in the bag of Kabuliwala, in the big bag of Kabuliwala, there might be two or three little children. So when she saw Kabuliwala, first she looked at the Kabuliwala and his bag. He offered her nuts. He offered her nuts and raisins. त्याने मग तिला काही शेंगदाणे अँड रेझिन्स मनुका वगैरे दिले. बट शी वुड नॉट बी टेम्प्टेड, परंतु शी हेजिटेटेड मीन्स संकोच केले, हेजिटेटेड टू रिसीव दोज गिफ्ट्स. Be tempted, he would not be tempted and only clung to closer to me. अजून ती माझ्याशी चिकट म्हणजे घट्ट पकडून राहिली. With all her doubts increased and her doubts increased. It was visible from her expressions. So Tagore says that her doubts were increased when Kabuliwala offered her nuts and raisins. This was the first meeting. And this was the first meeting of Mini and Kabuliwala. One morning, what happened? However, not many days later, after some days, one morning, as I was leaving the house, somewhere he was going somewhere, and I was startled to find Minnie seated on a bench near the door, laughing and talking with the great Kabuliwala at her feet. After some days, after that first meeting, when Tagore was about to leave, he was going outside. So he heard the voice of Minnie, and when he saw Minnie surprisingly, and he was shocked that he saw Minnie, who was seated on a bench near the door, and she was laughing and talking with that Kabuliwala. In the first meeting, she feared Kabuliwala, and she did not take any gift from him. She hesitated to receive the gifts, and she feared Kabuliwala very much. And after some days only, she was talking with Kabuliwala, laughing and talking. In all her life, it appeared, my small daughter had never found so patient a listener, save her father. And for the first time in the life of Tagore and in the life of 5 years of Minnie's age, uh, for the first time he saw that Minnie was listener, not speaker. Minnie was listener only, patient listener. Patient listener, very carefully she was listening to Kabuliwala, and Kabuliwala was talking to her, and Minnie was listening. So this was the shock. Surprisingly, this was the shock to Tagore. And already the corner of her little sari was stuffed with almonds and raisins. आणि तिच्या लहानशा साडीमध्ये there were some food items like almonds and raisins, मनुका, बदाम, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी त्याने तिला दिल्या होत्या गिफ्ट. द गिफ्ट ऑफ हर विजिटर. वाय डिड यू गिव्ह हर दोज? मी त्याला विचारलं, आय आस्क की वाय डिड यू गिव्ह her those gifts, almonds and raisins. And taking out an 8 आना piece, I handed it to him. आणि त्या almonds and raisins जो काही पैसे 8 आना, 8 आना, आधी आना असायचा, 8 आना पीस मीन्स 50 पैसे. आय हँडेड इट टू हिम, त्याला दिले त्या काबुलीवाला. The man accepted the money without timor, without objection. He had no objection to receive 8 आना and put it into his pocket. आणि आपल्या पॉकेटमध्ये त्यांनी he put that 8 आना. Alas, on my return, an hour later, I found an unfortunate coin had made twice its own worth of trouble. But that 8 आना caused the trouble to Minnie, because when he returned, Tagore, when he returned house, after some time, he found that there was a problematic situation. For the Kabuliwala had given it to Minnie. Kabuliwala had given that 8 आना to Minnie. He returned. He did not return that 8 आना to Tagore, but he returned that 8 आना to Minnie, and then Minnie to her mother. And that 8 आना returned to Minnie's mother. So, catching sight of the bright round object, had pounced on the child with, where did you get the 8 आना piece? कुठे मिळाला हा आना, म्हणजे दिस 50 पैसे कुठे मिळाले तुला? द काबुलीवाला गेव इट टू मी, सेड मिनी चीअरफुली. मिनीनं मोठ्या आनंदाने, हॅपीली शी आन्सर्ड that Kabuliwala gave it to me. Actually, Kabuliwala, why did he return the Ana? Because whatever almonds and raisins he gave to Minnie, it was the gift. And when Tagore gave him 8 आना, he did not want to take, but he did not refuse Tagore. But instead, what he did, he gave that 8 आना to Minnie. Return. So she said, Kabuliwala gave it to me, said Minnie cheerfully. The Kabuliwala gave it to you, cried her mother. ती ओरडली मिनीची आई, काबुलीवाल्याने तुला दिलं. ग्रेटली शॉक, ओ मिनी, हाऊ कुड यू टेक इट फ्रॉम हिम? तू कसं काय घेतलं अनोळखी व्यक्तीकडून? I entering at the moment, and at that moment when there was this situation was going on, I entered at the moment. Tagore says की या वेळेस माझी एंट्री तिथे झाली. अँड सेव्हिंग हर फ्रॉम इम्पेंडिंग डिझास्टर, जो काही आता डिझास्टर, जो काही प्रॉब्लेम मिनीसोबत होणार होता, टू सेव्ह हर फ्रॉम हर मदर, आय प्रोसिडेड टू मेक माय ओन इन्क्वायरीज. एक मी इन्क्वायरी सुरू केली, म्हणजे मी part I took part in that situation. It was not the first or the second time I found that the two had met. The Kabuliwala had overcome the child's first terror by judicious bribe of nuts and almonds, and the two were now great friends. First, Kabuliwala gave the gifts in the form of raisins, almonds to Minnie, and Minnie had no fear about Kabuliwala now. Judicious bribe of nuts and almonds, and the two were now great friends. Now, as she had no fear about Kabuliwala, they became good friends, Mini and Kabuliwala. They had many quaint jokes which amused them greatly. Minnie would seat herself before him, look down on his gigantic frame in all her teeny dignity, and with her face rippling with laughter, would begin. What they used to do whenever they meet, जेव्हा जेव्हा ते दोघे मिळायचे, एकमेकांची भेट व्हायची, त्यावेळेस what they used to do, काय करायचे? They had many quaint jokes. They used to do many jokes. And Minnie would seat herself before him, त्याच्यासमोर बसायची, and look down on his gigantic, a big figure, खूप मोठा धडधाकड असा तो व्यक्ती काबुलीवाला त्याच्याकडे बघत राहायची, इन ऑल हर डिग्निटी, and with her face rippling with laughter, and she used to laugh when she saw him, and she used to say, oh Kabuliwala, Kabuliwala, what have you got in your bag? तुझ्या बॅगमध्ये काय आहे? काबुलीवाला, काबुलीवाला, व्हॉट हॅव यू गॉट इन युअर बॅग? अँड ही वुड रिप्लाय इन द नेझल ॲक्सेंट्स ऑफ द माउंटेनियर. नेझल ॲक्सेंट्स मीन्स म्हणजे काही काही लोकांचा म्हणजे आवाज जो येतो तो नाक, नेझल ॲक्सेंट्स, नाकातून, जसं हिमेश रेशमिया इज व्हेरी पॉप्युलर अबाउट दिस. अँड ह्युमरसली ही इज क्रिटिसाइज दॅट ही सिंग्स थ्रू हिज नोज, नाकातून गाणं म्हणतो का असं, बट द व्हॉइस कम्स थ्रू माउथ अँड नोज ऑल्सो. सो दॅट इज नेझल ॲक्सेंट्स ऑफ द माउंटेनियर. जसं पहाडी लोक असतात त्यांचे जे आवाज तसे असतात, तर फ्रॉम दॅट टाईप. सो ही सेड, when Minnie asked him, what is in your bag? He said, an elephant. Hatti. Not much cause of merriment, perhaps, but how they both enjoyed the fun. And for me, this child's talk with a grown up man had always in it something strangely fascinating. This child of 5 years old and that huge man, there was a friendship between them. It was a very strangely fascinating. If anybody can see them talking and having jokes and chatting with each other happily, with laughing, so anybody may have doubt. It was a strange thing that there is a friendship between 5 years old girl and that huge man. So then the Kabuliwala, not to be behind hand, would take his turn. Well, little one, and when are you going to your father-in-law's house? Then the Kabuliwala, not to be behind hand, would take his turn. Then Kabuliwala used to ask her a question. Well, little one, and when are you going to your father-in-law's house? तू आपल्या फादर इन लॉच्या घरी केव्हा जाणार आहे? फादर इन लॉ मीन्स ससुराल. फादर इन लॉज हाउस मीन्स ससुराल. तू अपने ससुराल कब जाएंगी? the लहान little child, this is very common thing that grown up people always have jokes about such children, and they ask such humorous questions to children. So, as a very natural and common thing, he asked Minnie about when are you going to your father-in-law's house? अपने ससुराल तुम कब जाओगी? What is the answer of Minnie? Now, most small Bengali maiden has heard long ago about her father-in-law's house, but we were a little newfangled and had kept these things from our child, so that Minnie at this question must have been a trifle confused, bewildering, but she would not show it, and with ready tact replied, "Are you going there?" Actually, the that was the period when girls used to be married at a very young age. So it was a familiar phrase. What is mean by father-in-law's house? म्हणजे ससराल म्हणजे काय? They knew that. They knew the meaning of that. But Minnie did not know the meaning of that. So by this question, she was confused, but she was very clever. She was very sharp. So in return, she asked him, "Are you going there? तुम जा रहे हो? Are you going there?" This is the habit of children, many children nowadays also. If someone asks them some difficult or confused question, they reply the same question to that person. So Kabuliwala when asked कि तुम कब जा रहे हो, when are you going to your father-in-law's house, she replied that are you going there, तुम जा रहे हो वहाँ. Now what is the meaning of father-in-law's house in modern sense? एखादा क्रिम, this is seen in the movies, Hindi movies at that time. What was the meaning of father-in-law's house? एखादा Hindi movies, old Hindi movies, when we saw some police inspector said to some criminal, uh, चलो तुम्हें तुम्हारे ससुराल ले जाता हूँ. क्रिमिनल एखाद्या गुन्हेगाराला तो पोलीस म्हणायचा, चलो तुम्ही तुम्हारे ससुराल ले जाता हूँ. यानी दिस इज व्हॉट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ फादर इन लॉज हाऊस इन मॉडर्न सेन्स? इट इज प्रिझन, कैद, कैद, जेल, prison, jail. Sasral means jail. So for Kabuliwala, it may be a jail, but he asked Mini about the real meaning of that phrase. Father-in-law's house means when will you get married? असं त्याला विचारायचं होतं. तू केव्हा जाशील आपल्या सासऱ्याच्या घरी? That was the his sense. But when Mini asked him की are you going, तुम्ही जाणार आहे का तिथे? So amongst men of the Kabuliwala's class, however, it is well known that the words father-in-law's house have a double meaning. I have just explained that word, that phrase has the double meaning. It is a euphemism for jail. It is the synonym, similar word for jail, the place where we are well cared for at no expense to ourselves. In this sense, would the sturdy peddler, that strong peddler, take my daughter's questions? When Minnie asked काबुलीवाल, आर यू गोइंग देअर, तुम जा रहे हो वहाँ? सो आता याचा अर्थ काबुलीवाला टूक दॅट जेल, जेल. सो व्हॉट इज द आन्सर? ही वुड से, शेकिंग हिज फिस्ट ॲट ॲन इनविजिबल पोलिसमॅन. त्याने काय म्हटलं, आपली जी फिस्ट आहे, मूठ, हाताची जी मूठ असते, फिस्ट, अशी फिस्ट केली ॲट ॲन इनविजिबल पोलिसमॅन, अँड ही सपोज दॅट की देअर इज द पोलिसमॅन in front of him, and he said that की आय विल थ्रॅश माय फादर इन लॉ, म्हणजे तो पोलिसमॅन माझा म्हणजे सासरा आहे असं इमॅजिन करून ही सेड दॅट की आय विल थ्रॅश, आय विल स्ट्राईक हिम, माय फादर इन लॉ, जर मी तिथे गेलो तर. हिअरिंग धिस द पिक्चरिंग द पुअर डिस्कम्फिटेड रिलेटिव्ह मिनी, डिस्कम्फिटेड म्हणजे शी वॉज अगेन कन्फ्युज्ड, मिनी वुड गो अप इन टू peals of laughter, जसं त्याने ॲक्टिंग करून दाखवली. सो मिनी laughed, in which her formidable friend would join, and his difficult uh, friend Kabuliwallah also joined her laughter. Both were laughing. These types of jokes they used to do whenever they meet each other. So such was the friendship between Mini and Kabuliwallah. Now, what happens to their friendship and what is explained in the story ahead, we will see in the next video. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.